know, way back in the day, the only way that a man could truly prove himself to be a man was by going into battle. And in many cultures today, this is still the case. The only way to prove yourself to be a man is by going into battle. But when it came into going to battle, or not that, but when it came to knowing who was really chosen by God, the only way to know this was to see who could survive in battle. Those who survived in battle were to be deemed chosen by God. And this was also the case way back in the day in this Western society. You had to prove yourself in battle. And if you were chosen by God, you would be a survivor. But in modern times, this is not the case. To prove yourself to be a man, well, that's the thing about it. In this Western society today, there is no specific way or no rite of ritual for a guy to prove himself to be a man. And having no type of ritual to prove for a man to prove himself, man has to go into himself, search for the word of God, read the word of God in order to know himself. It is only after a man has lost his mind, not knowing who he truly is, when he finds God, that's when man truly discovers himself. But in this Western society, there's no rite of ritual for a man to prove himself. And having no rite of ritual, the majority of this population is obese. Having no rite of ritual has allowed this society to make man more feminine. The only way for man to truly prove himself to be a man is for him to know himself that he is a man. And he knowing himself as a man, he moves as a man. How does a man move? Well, that's a topic for another video. But once a man discovers himself, he soon realizes just how pussy every other man in this society is. Every other man decides, I can't say every other man, but most men in this society are feminine. No, they lack morals. They lack a compass to lead them into the right direction. And thank God for YouTube. We now have this platform for men to educate other men on how to be men, how to follow God and be proper men. But even with YouTube, most people don't care about becoming true men. Most men, most guys, I should say, are more infatuated with the viscous innards, as they say. And being so hooked on these viscous innards, men don't really care to prove themselves to be men. They would rather be posers. And being posers, they don't realize that it's women who pose. Men do not pose. Men remain true to themselves, no matter who's around them. But this is all to say that in this Western society, there's no longer a rite of ritual for men to prove themselves to be men. Men have to discover themselves what makes themselves a man. That's the word.